Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of Kenneth Means Business. um, yeah, where on this channel, as you already know, we look at articles, business related articles, and we examine them, we draw conclusions, review vocabulary, sentence constructions, things of that nature. This is primarily designed for like intermediate to C1 and even C2 students who kind of want to brush up their knowledge of business topics. So, welcome to everybody who is here. And without any further ado, let's get started. Today's article is about Netflix. It's entitled Netflix to Make Major Changes After Subscriber Loss. I'm getting this material, by the way, from the Engo website. Um, I myself, by the way, can be found at italki.com, where I am a teacher that focuses primarily on business topics. So if you get a chance, swing by there. You can find me under Kenneth Business. One word. Good. So let's get started. Netflix. I mentioned Netflix in our previous in the previous episode. I subscribe to Netflix. A lot of people do, but today we're going to be talking about something that's not particularly positive. The Netflix stock has declined in large part due to subscriber loss. So, well, they had X number of subscribers. Let's just throw out 100, and now they're at, let's just throw out another number, 80. So it's less than before, and this has really rattled the markets or the stock market specifically because, as you know, future or stock prices are based upon future earnings potential, and well, people are scratching their heads wondering, will there be future earnings potential? So let's take a look at this article. And first, let's look at the vocab, and then we'll read through the article. Let's get started. And scrolling down here, subscriber. What or who, I should say, is a subscriber? Anybody? Well, a subscriber is someone who pays in order to regularly use a service or receive goods, right? Sure, we all subscribe to something. I mentioned earlier that I subscribe to Netflix. I also subscribe to Bloomberg, and no, I before I subscribed to the New York Times, but not anymore. Right? It's when we pay for a service in advance, right? So not afterwards, but in advance, and it's done on a regular interval, right? So that is the person who does that is the subscriber. Good. Withdraw. Withdraw, here we have to leave or cause to leave a situation, place, organization, etc. Withdraw is to essentially remove oneself. If, it's me, I withdraw from the, from the negotiations. Yeah, you can withdraw your nomination. I'm sure maybe many of you have heard that. Yeah, withdraw. So let's look at the sentence that's written here. In the end, she decided to withdraw from the competition. Good. Chip away. Well, there are these phrasal verbs that you really can't figure out just by looking at them. There are many that through like some type of logical sequencing, you can kind of figure it out. But chip away is hard. Like when I hear chip, I think of like chocolate chips. Seriously. Chip or a microchip, right? Chip away just means to kind of, eat at, not eat like this, but kind of make weaker, grind down, if you will, right? So let's look at the definition here. To slowly and consistently make something weaker or smaller, right? And the sentence here, the scandal has chipped away, made weaker, at her popularity as a political leader. Right? Excellent. And next, dominance. Power over another person or thing, right? Yeah, dominance is the state of having power, I guess, over someone or something else, right? How it's measured. That's anybody's guess. So yeah, dominance. So Mercedes' dominance in Formula One lasted almost a decade. Notice here we have Mercedes dominance. We have an apostrophe after the S. Why? Because it's possessive, right? Whose dominance? Mercedes, right? Well done. Inflation. Inflation. Well, we're experiencing a lot of inflation nowadays in the U.S. Uh, some argue it's because of this huge infusion of liquidity that was made during the pandemic, I think to the tune of like $5.2 trillion. Whatever it might be, it has caused prices to skyrocket. Price of meat has gone up. Price of pretty much everything. Gas, though, that might be also contributable to or due to, I should say, the crisis in Ukraine. But yeah, what is a fact is that prices are going up and salaries aren't necessarily going up at the same rate. This is why inflation can be particularly bad. So, definition here is an increase in the prices of goods and services in a particular country that makes its currency less valuable. So, right, if today I can buy, I don't know, my watch for $100, and inflation goes up by 50%, well, then my watch, let's say in a year goes up by 50%, then my watch might cost $150 because in terms of buying power, that $150 12 months from now is the same as the purchasing power that my $100 had today, right? Good. And let's look at a sentence here. Wages have not kept up with rising inflation over the past few decades. That is the main issue here, right? If wages kind of mirrored the rise in inflation, I guess it wouldn't be so bad. But the fact of the matter is that's rarely the case, right? Good. And counter. To act or speak in opposition to something, right? So we have an offer, right? I will give you $600 for this really, really destroyed uh, iPhone. Uh, yeah, what about my counter offer of like nothing? Okay, well, maybe something. Maybe the material is worth something. So counter offer would be, your response to my initial offer. So I would say 600 and you would say like 20 bucks. And I would say, okay, I'll take it. I get another one. Good. Let's jump into this article, shall we? So Netflix to make changes to its service after subscriber loss. Netflix has suffered its first subscriber loss in over a decade, causing its shares to drop 35% to their lowest level since 2018 and forcing the company to consider experimenting with ads and anti-password sharing measures. It's interesting because years ago, Netflix made a promise, or at least, alluded to the fact that it wouldn't be, using ads. The problem is things change, right? If the subscriber base has plummeted, so you're not getting revenue from the subscribers, and Wall Street's desire to purchase your stock has kind of, or purchase your company by way of stock has kind of grown cold. You need to figure out another, revenue stream, right? So they're saying experimenting right now. This is just like a euphemism for, yeah, they're going to do it. Right? They're probably going to have to, right? For the purposes of sustaining itself or survival, I should say. They're probably going to not only experiment with ads, but they're probably going to make it a permanent fixture. That's just my opinion. The company lost 200,000 subscribers between January and March 2022, according to its quarterly earnings report, quarterly every 3 months, right? Earnings report showing its revenue in this report, like a 10Q, as we call it. a 10Q. It's a quarterly report, whereas a 10K is an annual report, with a predicted loss of another 2 million subscribers by the end of June 2022. That is not good. Begs the question, what's going on? Does it have to do with the cost of a subscription? I'm not going to say, well, it's cheap, because, cheap, expensive, it's all relative to what one's making. I will say, however, from my vantage point, if you look at the offering, right, all the movies you can see, all the TV shows you can see, it seems pretty reasonable, the price. So maybe there's another factor involved. Maybe there are competitors who are offering the same content or something similar for cheaper or for nothing for the time being, right? Good. That would still leave Netflix with 220 million worldwide subscribers, more than any other video streaming service. As I mentioned, I'm one of them. The drop in share prices is also partly a result of Netflix's decision to withdraw from Russia to protest the war against Ukraine, resulting in a loss of 700,000 subscribers. Okay, that answers a little bit, like why the number of subscribers declined. It's entirely possible, that between Russia, which has a population of, I think, 120 million people, and maybe even Ukraine, if people aren't working, maybe as they, at the same level, or as many hours as they worked before, or even the money that they do have now. If you're in this type of conflict, you probably don't want to spend money on Netflix. Maybe there are other things you might want to spend your money on. And Ukraine has a population of 80 million people, so it's possible that is where that drop came from. But let's read ahead. Rivals such as Apple, Walt Disney, and HBO have begun to chip away, right, at Netflix's dominance with their own streaming services. And rising inflation is making families reconsider how many different streaming services they're willing to pay for. So this is interesting. So on one hand, you could say, this only costs $10 or $15. You have to understand people are like kind of buying a lot of different things, right? So that money is being spread out, right? Good. That would still good. Let's look here. I lost my spot here. So Apple, by the way, offers their content. I think I got 3 months free, and